Corvus micranthomoides is often referred to as pearlweed. This is a cousin to the Hemianthus calcitroides, otherwise known as HC cuba or dwarf baby tears, thusly making everything wildly confusing for every average person getting into the plant hobby. Pearlweed is different than dwarf baby tears or regular baby tears. It grows in a different structure and a different way, but the care is essentially the same. If you have a reasonable tank that will grow baby tears, if you have a reasonable tank that will grow pearlweed, you'll be able to grow all the different variants of all of the Hemianthus varietals that are out there. The one slight variation with pearlweed is that I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have CO2 to grow this plant, though I, of course, would 100% recommend getting some CO2 into your aquarium. It's something that I constantly tell people to do, so why wouldn't I do it in this video? My current setup that you'll see in this video is a 120-gallon acrylic aquarium with Amazonia substrate, Fluval 3.0 lighting, CO2 injected into a homemade reactor, running on a sump, back up into the aquarium, and fertilized with Easy Green fertilizer. A short period of time ago, Corey from Aquarium Co-op said, "Hey, I'm going to send you some plants. Why don't you go ahead and unpackage them, check them out, let everybody know what they're like, what they're about, and what's going on with them." And I said, "Hey, you know me, I love plants. Let's do it." Received a package in the mail, looking fantastic, nicely packaged. Every plant is identified. Every plant is in its own pot, its own situation. I love it 100%. I don't really think there's necessarily any improvement that they could make, except for maybe if the label was bigger for the name. I think that's really the only criticism I have at this point. Every plant came with a tea bag to keep it nice and wet. Inside a Ziploc bag, there was nothing leaked inside the container. Was all good. That being said, I still have to take all of this packaging off. So maybe that's a complaint. Maybe they should send somebody over to open up the package for me. I don't know. Seems like a lot of legwork, but hey, I don't know. Trying to find some criticism here to pass on, constructive criticism. Otherwise, I think everything is pretty solid. All of that said, I do have to tell you guys that this technically is a sponsored video because of the free plants I received. I wasn't instructed to give any kind of information one way or another. There is no editing being done outside of me, so I would keep that in mind moving forward. It's pretty simple to unpackage the pearlweed. No matter where you get it from, it's most likely going to come in this little pot with the rock wool stuffed in there. Disassemble this by taking the pot off and splitting the rock wool, and just take all the stems out and set them off to the side. It's very simple to get everything out of there, so I don't think we're going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this. Now, when it comes time to plant, this is a very simple process, but it is a little bit time consuming, and I would almost always remind people to not be super concerned about getting every single little bit of plant into the substrate. You just need to get some in there to get it to start to establish growing. So if you were to split each pot into, say, 5 or 6 different clumps, plant them in with your planting tongs into the substrate so that they're in there and they're held down and they'll stay in place. Here's a time lapse to show you how they adapted over time. As you can see, it does take a little time to get this plant established, but once it starts growing, you will see lots of shoots. It grows exceedingly fast and does a fantastic job filling in and being bright green. It has all these tiny little leaves on it. It looks fantastic, whether you're doing photography, video, or just enjoying it yourself. It is an amazing plant to add to the aquarium. Be aware though, this plant will grow super tall all the way up to the top of your aquarium. I know there are all sorts of people out there that will tell you that this won't grow all that tall. It's generally a carpeting plant, which it is, but you are the person that has to motivate that by keeping it trimmed. Aggressively trim this plant. Constantly keep it trimmed down to between 1 and 2 inches tall, and it will spread out and carpet, and you will have to keep it short. Otherwise, this will grow tall. It'll get out of hand. Although this plant does come from North America, it comes from nowhere near me. It's not something I can go outside and get. I do have to order it by mail, so I do appreciate getting it in and having it back in my fish room. Here's an old video, a super duper old crappy video. I don't even know if it even qualifies as video at this point, but this is a video of some of my old tanks from probably over 10 years ago at this point, with pearlweed in it. And I realize that I've had such a long relationship with this plant, and I haven't had it in my fish room in a really long time. It is fantastic to have it back. The bright green, the constant trimming is I kind of missed it, to be honest with you. Like, I know that I will eventually get fed up and get pissed off with this plant and decide to take it all out and put it and give it away to somebody again, and pass it on. But I highly recommend this plant. I've been messing with it for years and years and years. Anybody out there can continue to kick ass with your awesome planet tanks. This is an awesome addition. If you don't have it, get some, get it growing, and make it happen. You know what I'm saying. If you're wondering about the hardscape in this aquarium, I actually did a highlight video about that called Elevate Your Aquascape, or How to Build Height in Your Aquascape. It actually details all of the layout of the substrate and everything that went into this tank. So if you want to check that out, here's a little preview of it, but you can just go click down and watch that whole video if you want. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll talk to you later.